I think right now the idea of Trudeau, our deputy prime minister, and our foreign minister all showing up in Kyiv at the exact same time, but bringing nothing other than more rhetoric, is very telling about where we are in this conflict, where Canada stands, and what we're actually doing to assist the Ukraine in their fight against Russia. I think it's a pretty sad testament to our legacy, especially when he made that announcement on VE Day and the sacrifices that so many made and how far above the bar Canada punched during World War II, that he shows up empty-handed and delivers absolutely nothing other than words.
I understand that Canada had made a promise a few weeks ago to deliver 4 pieces of artillery. And please correct me if I'm wrong on that. So it was a very tangible promise of some military hardware. I understand that those have not yet been delivered. Can you correct me if I'm wrong on that?
So I understand. I saw them being prepared, crated up, put on boats, a couple put on planes. I've yet to been able to verify that they are operational in any sense of the matter, either in Poland or in Ukraine. I understand the United States has begun a train the trainer program on the exact same piece of artillery. And maybe that's what they're waiting for. But even more importantly, there was very little ammunition shipped with those 4 guns, with a promise that more would come. Ammunition's pretty heavy, and so it's going to have to go on a boat. And it took them over 40 days to get our own artillery in place after they canceled it a couple of years ago and took it out of the battle group. So, I wouldn't count on this arriving and getting the training done and being operational in the fight for some time still.
Well, and that's the thing, is you can't just give a weapons system, especially a modern high-tech weapons system, to an army that is unfamiliar with it. I mean, Ukraine still uses a lot of former Soviet-made weapons, so to give them Western weapons and training, it just doesn't happen overnight. I'm a little worried. I'll tell you this very candidly, Lee. I mean, I'm worried that some of the bellicose statements made by the West are too provocative. And I'm not just talking about the political statements like we want to have regime change or we want to destroy the Russian army. I mean, some of that talk you could just say is puffery. But when the U.S. Pentagon takes credit for helping to sink that mighty Russian naval ship, the Moskva, or when the U.S. intelligence community takes credit for targeted killings of Russian generals in Ukraine, that bragging, that it feels like the proxy war that Russia says it is. And I'm nervous that one day Russia might retaliate in kind. Hopefully not against Canada, but I don't know. I'm just worried that this really is becoming the West jubilantly trapping Russia's military and killing it in Ukraine. And I suppose I can understand the strategic value of that, but I'm worried that strategically it'll get out of hand and Russia might strike us. Am I being too afraid?
I think Russia, is going to limit their attacks on the West. But over the last month, I've seen a dramatic change in the Russian approach to this conflict. They've begun strategically striking railroads, deep arms depots, NATO equipment, warehouses, and things of that nature. And so they're clearly saying that NATO equipment, and if NATO trainers are silly enough to move into Western Ukraine and the Kyiv area and become targets, then it's going to be very difficult for NATO to claim that this is anything other than Russian self-defense, attempting to keep these weapons out of the hands of their enemy. Honestly, I'm more concerned, I think, about over the last 2 months, we've seen a dramatic change in the way military pundits, the media are analyzing and are portraying this conflict. For going on 50 years now, ever since the Pentagon Papers, the media and punditry on television have been very questioning, to be polite about it, about what official military press flacks like at the Pentagon or at the White House are putting forward. In this case, it seems like there's a lot of cheerleading going on as opposed to accurate analysis. And I'm no fan of Russia. I'm no fan of Putin. I think what he's doing was inevitable, but it's horrific nonetheless. But at the same time, I don't quite understand what the West's goals are in this by continuing to antagonize and to act like this is the greatest defeat of the Russian army in the history of the world, when, in fact, over the last month, the Russians have made pretty significant gains in the Donbass area and along the south, and they've consolidated their lines and set more realistic military targets and goals that I think they will achieve.
That was an excerpt from my daily TV-style show called The Ezra Levant Show. Each weekday, I do a monologue on the news of the day, then I interview a fascinating guest. I read some fan mail or hate mail, depends on which I like more, and we end with a video of the day. You can get it all at rebelnewsplus.com.